There were always some that would have had doubts. Just be like, is he really that guy? And again, yeah. Well, it's tier two, first round worthy. So we're talking about these are guys that you can feel good taking in the first round. And when we say maybe wide receiver one upside, we're talking about the wide receiver one once again. And of course, we're going to start with Stephon Diggs, who has just been like a model of consistency and has won plenty of people fantasy leagues.
The model of consistency, wide receiver 3, 7, and 4 across his last 3 years since joining the Bills. Now, on the season, 56% of his games were top 12. That is crazy consistency. He still has the ceiling. He had that floor, and then he got hurt. But if you look at, I mean, this was legitimately Cooper Kupp level production, 24.7 points per game. Cooper Kupp in that ridiculous record-breaking season was 25.9 points per game. So really, really close in terms of how much dominance we saw out of Stephon Diggs. Again, people seem to forget how great this Bills offense was humming along in those first 8 weeks of the seasons before Josh Allen's injury. He was on pace for 1,855 yards and 17 touchdowns. I mean, that is insane production. And this would have been the wide receiver one, that pace, by 3 points. You consider only those first 8 weeks of the season when Josh Allen was fully healthy.
I'm sure you get a little excited when you think about this guy.
How can you not? A.J. Brown, last year's wide receiver 5. I just love the player. He hadn't seen his career high in targets was 104 before last year. We see a big spike, 144, which we were predicting. Jalen Hurts' boy, your best friends off the field. You saw that rapport on the field carry over as well. Ranked 9th in targets, finished 5th in points, but 2nd in total touchdowns, 4th in receiving yards. An amazing smash debut for A.J. Brown with the Eagles. And it was, a lot of people have talked about him as a boomer bust guy, but 35% were top 12, 35% were top 24. So 70% of the time, you were getting really solid production from A.J. Brown. So yeah, I mean, I love A.J. Brown. I only see it getting better. In his second year, they haven't really added any competition. So that rapport can only continue to grow. More of the same. No reason not to love A.J. Brown in 2023.
Well, I'm going to say the next guy, he might be the best of all of them. And of course, I'm talking about Devontae Adams, who, as great as he is, or I was going to say as great as he was, but it's as great as he is. I mean, he put up just legendary numbers in Green Bay. There were always some, I mean, that would have had doubts. Just be like, is he really going to go to the Raiders and be that guy? And again, yeah.
The wide receiver, too, in fantasy last year. I'm 100% there with you. The model of consistency. I mean, we've said consistent for these other guys above him, and then you look at Adam. Wide receiver 1, 4, 1, 2, and 5 in his last 5. So
and the 5, where he finished a dismal wide receiver 5, that was his first year in a new city with a new coach, with a new quarterback, and a new offense. So, I mean, you could forgive it. And a kind of not a great team.
No, shitty team, but first in total touchdowns among receivers, second in targets, first in total air yards, was getting deep. So I was a big fan. I mean, I think he might be getting the most disrespected of any receiver in these early drafts because he's falling to the end of round 1, and sometimes I'm getting him even in round 2 right now, and I don't see any reason why he should be. 47% of his games were top 12, so he boomed very, very often. I mean, 5 games above 33 points last year.
He had like some 30, 35-point games. Like
he had by far the most 30-point games among wide receivers last year. It was a little uncanny in that when he didn't boom, he was outside the top 24. Now, a lot of those were 14, 12, 10 games, so it wasn't like he completely disappeared on you. So we did see that downgrade. But yeah, I mean, every reason, as long as Jimmy G's healthy, which is a big risk right now, because otherwise I don't know who the quarterback would be here. And there is the risk of a midseason trade. But honestly, just like last year proved with A.J. Brown, I also think it with Adams, he can get it done with no matter who's slinging him the rock. So after these top 7, I do think there's some guys that can be your wide receiver 1, but these are the target hogs, the guys that are well worth that first round addition. Anyone in that top 7, I like taking in round 1 because I'm very intrigued by Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard and Nick Chubb. Some of these round 2 running backs, if you can get a hog like Kupp and then Pollard sitting there on your way back, you've got yourself an incredible start. So I love and hope one of these top 7's my number 1 receiver. These top 7 are definitely where it's at. And if you can make that first round plunge, this is a departure. I've always been a bell cow,
You've always been a big proponent, and I have tended to agree. We like building a stable. We like building a strong stable with the old RB, RB, RB sometimes, and just like, oh, look at that
Yeah.
stable. We're deviating from that a little bit here because you just listed 7 guys here. You'd be thrilled to have in the first round, but this is a change, right?
Absolutely.
In mentality.
Absolutely, 100%. I actually weirdly think there's more depth in the horses this year than the hogs in terms of the true alpha 150 potential target guys versus the 250 plus touch running backs. I think there's more of those 250 potential touch running backs. It seems like that pool has started to deepen over these last few years where it was dry and barren. Look no further than my big board. I have what? 2 running backs in the first round. The rest are Kelsey and receivers at
Crazy.
this point
Yep.
because I have definitely switched my philosophy. I think there's less
Okay.
injury risk with the receivers. There's just more steadiness year to year. I'm all in on going early receiver at this point.